What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to episode 1 of the Rise to Glory here with Gibraltar Apex in the Segunda Division in Football Manager 2016. Firstly, if you're new here, welcome. If you're returning as always, guys, welcome back. This is the start of another Let's Play here on my channel, and I'm going to go ahead and say it. It's my most ambitious Let's Play yet, and we're going to be trying to replicate a save I did in FM14 where I won back-to-back Champions Leagues as a club from Gibraltar. Yes, I know that sounds impossible, and it almost is, which is why this is my most ambitious save yet. If you don't know, I'm going to start off by giving you guys a little bit of a background about Gibraltar. So first and foremost, it's a peninsula off the south of Spain. It's a British overseas territory with a population of 30,000 people. In Football Manager, it can be played through an edited database which gives you access to the Primera Division and the Segunda Division. We are starting in the second tier with our created club Gibraltar Apex. So a little bit about the club itself. It's a semi-professional club, which is one of only 2 in the second tier of Gibraltar. We were established in 2015, of course. We have some lovely custom kits that I've created myself. We, of course, ground share with every other club in Gibraltar. In Gibraltar itself, there is only one stadium. It has a capacity of 2,300 people. The national team actually have to play in Portugal because their current national stadium doesn't fulfill the UEFA criteria. In this custom database that I have with my newly created Gibraltar Apex side, I have also made the nation a FIFA member. What this means is that they will kind of have a chance to qualify for the World Cup. In real life, Gibraltar are only a member of UEFA, so they don't get a chance to qualify for the World Cup. However, things are looking possible on the horizon that they may well make it into FIFA in the next decade or so. And as a result, because it can't happen in real life, we're going to start off with them as part of FIFA. So anyway, let's talk a little bit more about this club. As you can see here, absolutely no players. The club has a good reputation as this newly founded side. You can see here, we are the manager, of course. We are from Gibraltar in this save. That is kind of one of the things we've done. And I've also made it so we are a supporter of Gibraltar Apex. So a little bit more about the club, looking at the general information here, obviously based in South Europe in Gibraltar. We have 150 season ticket holders, which makes us the 3rd most supported team in the country. And we also have a fairly high average season ticket price. I've given myself a platform to kind of grow off with this team, but as you can see, the media only predict us to finish 5th this season. If we look here, no legends, no icons, no favourite personnel. We have a reasonable value, and the reason we have that quite high value is because we have the best training facilities in the nation. My aim with this really is to hopefully help us get some slightly better young Gibraltar players through in this save. You guys who have been around on my channel for a while will know that often with my saves, I like to do the youth development side of things. And in Gibraltar, it can be very tedious to begin with. And so I want to make sure that we do have some half-decent Gibraltar players, in the team. To start things off, we start getting some nice youth intakes. And hopefully, it'll be fun and delightful to see these players develop. So anyway, you can see more about the information of the club here. Obviously, there's no history. And the challenge ahead of us is to try and win a Champions League as a club from Gibraltar. So how are we going to go about doing that? Well, we start off in the second tier. If we get promoted to the Primera Division, you can see here that the top team, if we go to rules, actually qualify for the UEFA Champions League first qualifying phase. At the moment, no teams qualify for the Europa League. So the aim with this save initially is going to be to secure domestic dominance, which in itself is going to be a challenge. And the reason that that's going to be a challenge is because if we look at the past winners, Lincoln Red Imps are a fairly good team in Gibraltar. They've won the league the last 12 years. So to overturn their reign is going to be our initial challenge. And then from there, we're going to have to slowly, hopefully, progress through Europe, get into different qualifying stages over the first few years, maybe turn professional, and hopefully from there, get some TV money for the qualifying rounds. And by succeeding in Europe, we'll hopefully raise the stature of our own nation and particularly the top flight in Europe as a whole to help us get a TV deal eventually and obviously get more European qualifying spots that other countries or other teams in the country, in the territory, can use. So yeah, it's a big challenge. So what I'm actually going to do to begin with, guys, is we are going to do the first game of the season. It's not actually for a good few months. As you can see, if we look here, our first game is going to be against Mons Calpe. But as you can see, that's actually going to be in 3 months' time. So in the next 3 months, I need to build a team. So I'm going to join you guys when I've done that. And we'll have a little bit of a discussion before going into our first game of the season, which, yeah, is going to be a pretty mighty challenge. Welcome back, guys. It's been 3 months since the last kind of little recap that I gave you. We're now at the start of the season. We're going to be taking on Mons Calpe today. And Gibraltar Apex finally feels like a team because we actually have a team sorted, which is nice. First and foremost, we'll have a quick look at our tactics. You'll see here we have a very kind of filled up squad. I'm not going to go through all of these players today. Instead, over the next few episodes, we'll get a little bit more familiar with the squad, the standout players. Most of these players are on one-year deals. Of course, today we will review our starting 11, so you guys have an idea of players to keep out an eye on. And yeah, before we begin, just a quick look at our tactics. Playing a 4-4-2, very traditional Mike Bassett style. Nothing too crazy about this, attacking and flexible. We want to exploit the flanks, looking for a little bit of an overlap from our defenders. We have, of course, got our Waitaka 4-2-3-1 and also our Liverpool 4-3-1-2 as backup tactics that we could fall back onto. So we have got kind of tried and tested tactics there. But a 4-4-2 is what I think is really going to suit our team the best. Nice and simple, nothing too crazy going on. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with the team that we have assembled for this game. So anyway, we'll have a look at our starting 11 for today's game. In goal we have John Paul Sueta. Not actually our first choice keeper normally, but our first choice keeper is actually coming back from international duty with the Gibraltar under-21 squad. So John is going to start today. He's a player who last year played for Lynx, or actually this year played for Lynx, but we managed to grab him in on a free, which I was pretty happy with. Anyway, at left back we have Glenn Gilbert. Looking at him, played 2 years ago for Mons Calpe, who we played today. There are a few players who played for Mons Calpe that season, and Glenn is one of them. Really nicely well-rounded left-back, not particularly inspiring going forward with his crossing and dribbling of free, but defensively very solid, and he's actually half decent in the air, which is quite nice too. Anyway, our centre-mid, or centre-back pairing, pardon me, is going to be Guerrero and Bruzon. Aaron Guerrero here, a faster player, not incredible in the air, but naturally fit, left-footed only, earning £70 a week. And he looks like quite a nice centre-back. And then alongside him, as I mentioned, we have got Bruzon, who is just a jack of all trades, really, master of none. He's a little bit better than Guerrero, perhaps, in the air, maybe a little bit quicker, but physically, perhaps not as well-rounded. He's got some nice mentals too, though, and to be honest, I'm pretty happy with our two centre-backs. I think that is one of the big strengths of our team this year. Anyway, at right back we have Nicholas Alexander Reyes, 23 years old, very young player, good little fullback, actually half decent going forward too in terms of his first touch. Not terrible in the air, although his jumping's bad, he's got some half decent heading to make up for it. Good decisions and good concentration, which is nice in our defensive players. As you can see here, last year he played for Gibraltar Lions. The year before that, or in fact, the club before that he played for was SJ Athletic back in 2010. Last year he made a few appearances in the top flight of Gibraltar, got released. We've picked him up, hopefully he'll be a good little player for us. Anyway, out on the left we have Neil Montegriffo, or as I'm going to call him, Griffo. Just a good little winger, this guy, 25 years old, earning £70 a week. As you can see, 2 years ago played for Europa Pegasus in the second division. Unfortunately for us, obviously Gibraltar football, it's not highly documented, so for a lot of these players the history is a little bit patchy. Anyway, in the centre of midfield for today's game, we go with Munoz and the Sergeant. Munoz is going to be the more defensive of our midfielders. You can see, looking at him, a pretty smart player, only 20 years old, a few under-21 caps as well for Gibraltar. 2 years ago played for Hound Dogs, pretty happy about him coming into the side. And as I mentioned, Sergeant, the other player. Now, my assistant doesn't really rate him as a roaming playmaker where he's going to be playing today, but I actually think he's not going to be too bad at that role at all. Of course, with us being such a tiny club, my assistant doesn't have the best judging players. So for the most part this year especially, I'm really going to be using my own intuition to judge players, and I think for a Sergeant it's going to be a nice little roaming playmaker, good well-rounded player, not very good in the air but good natural fitness, okay work rate, good technique, decent passing. It's what we need from kind of perhaps our creative outlet in the midfield. Anyway, at right mid, we have Kadrion Drimmy. This guy, 19 years old, again, a really big talent. I believe he's actually the biggest earner at the club on £200 a week, which is probably a little bit more than what he really should be on. As you can see, last year he played for Gibraltar Phoenix in the Segunda division where we are. He's a very good fast right back, or right mid, sorry. Can also play on the left mid, potentially cutting inside, so that's something worth considering. But yeah, a very useful player to have, to say the least. Anyway, our strike force for today is going to be Legeo and also Poggio. I'm hoping I said this right. It could be Legea, or Legia. Legia, that sounds good. I'm sorry, Thomas. I want to apologise. I've butchered your name there. As you can see, 23 years old on £80 a week. We signed him, and last year he played for, I guess that's Glasses United in the Premier League. So another decent little signing, and alongside him, Poggio. I love your name, Craig. It's beautiful. This guy, more of a natural centre attacking mid, but going to be playing a striker role for us. A really good striker, to be honest. Well-rounded, good fitness, which I like in my players, particularly at these smaller teams. You know, that can help where you can't perhaps rotate the team so much as you can at bigger teams. He also has really good acceleration and good pace for this division, and some good finishing. So I'm pretty excited to see what he can do. Perhaps the off-the-ball stat lets him down just a little bit. But anyway, that's a little rundown of our starting 11 for today's game. Of the players who we've signed, as I mentioned, I'm pretty happy with our centre-backs. Our strike force as well is going to be pretty nice. I think Legea is going to be a good player for us. Poggio could have a little bit of a point to prove. But all in all, I think we have a pretty good team here. So just a little rundown of Gibraltar Apex just before we get into it. You can see we were predicted to finish 5th before we made all our signings. Of course, that's now changed. You can see our home kit is going to be a kit similar to this one here. I made these two kits in Photoshop for us. This one is kind of, I guess, a blue and darker blue with orange and white trim, kind of sticking to the club colours. And our away kit is a stripe kit that takes the stripes of the logo. And I've not really talked about the logo, but you might be able to see it here. The blue stripes are basically the ocean. The grey shape you can see here is the Rock of Gibraltar. And then on top of it, there is an orange capital A, which is kind of the apex, the pinnacle. And I guess that's where the club gets its name from. So anyway, let's get into today's game. We're taking on Mons Calpe, a big game for us here. We're actually the last team to play their opening game of the season, which is a little bit disappointing. We currently sit in 11th place as a result, but a win today could really help us out. As I mentioned, I've already got my team sorted. Some players lacking match fitness, but I guess that's to be expected. I didn't touch upon our pre-season, but what you guys need to know is that initially we struggled because we didn't have a squad. But really, since we've kind of made some signings, we did get some decent wins over teams in our division, and also, you know, some pretty competitive results against teams in the league above us. So that's pretty good going forward. Anyway, let's just encourage the players. I'm pretty confident of us getting a good opening result here. I'm really happy with the signings we made. I didn't perhaps expect to get quite such a strong team in. And this year, I'd like to see us really challenge at the top of the Segunda division for the title. Whether or not we can do that, I guess that remains to be seen. Let's sort out our settings. Brand new save. These all have to be sorted. Right. Get the goals highlights on. We are, of course, playing in blue, and we're actually on the attack. Poggio. Sargent, can we make an opening here? This is a fairly untested 4-4-2, as I mentioned. Gilbert out on the left. Drimmy back post. Drimmy scores. The big earner at the club. A player I was a little bit concerned about. Gets the first goal in the club's history. He becomes the club's record goal scorer with that strike. And we make things 1-0 here. Well, 9 minutes in. What a good start this has been. A nice little finish that was. The ball just booted from one side of the pitch to the other. Looking at our pitch, it's absolutely beautiful. But Gilbert, massive cross. Only got free crossing Gilbert. But I'll tell you what, that did not matter there. And Drimmy is there at the back post to nod it in. As you can see, our 2,000-seater stadium with a burger van. I think there's more people at the burger van than sat down in their seats actually watching the match. Hopefully, over the course of this save, we'll get our stadium that isn't one that we have to share with every other club kind of in Gibraltar. And then from there onwards, we can move forward. And I'll tell you what, Griffo has now scored 2. Both of our wingers and our wider midfielders getting on the score sheet in this first game. Drimmy this time with the assist on that left peg of his. He's right-footed. And Monte Griffo just loves it. What a header. We make it 2-0. This is the start we wanted. This is the start we needed as well. We're doing okay. We're not doing well in terms of keeping the ball, as my assistant is kind of mentioning. But you know what? That doesn't concern me too much. If we win the game, and actually at half-time, it's going to be 2-0. I'm going to tell the boys I'm very happy. They are absolutely loving it. So in this league, there are no registration rules, I don't believe, for this first season. There may be some foreign player limits down the line. I believe it's 3 years to gain nationality in Gibraltar. So particularly when we want to perhaps advance up in Europe, that's going to be perhaps a stumbling block that we have to overcome. Of course, I guess to begin with, we've got to start getting the league in a state where we can actually attract players from Europe. Because at the moment, we are just limited to players from Gibraltar. And to be honest, I couldn't even sign players from our league rivals, hence why we had to get so many free agents. But anyway, our free agents are doing a pretty good job for us here. We did just have a clear-cut chance, which was blocked, unfortunately. And we're not going to make anything of the corner. But to be honest, if things stay like this, to get the club's existence, I guess, started with a win would be pretty pleasing here. And Mons Calpe, as I mentioned, they are one of the big paying teams in the division. They have a wage bill around the same as ours. I believe ours is maybe £50 more a month or a week. But that's nothing to be too concerned about. That's pretty pleasing. And given our good kind of support to start in terms of our season ticket holders, in terms of the actual fans who come to our games relative to other teams, we can afford to have a slightly larger wage bill. I had to, obviously, with this database, do quite a lot of testing. And in my tests, Gibraltar Apex, they did become a fairly successful team in Gibraltar, but it was taking 10 to 20 years for them to win their first league title. So I have perhaps made things a little bit easier than they otherwise would be with our training facilities and our youth facilities. We've just made one of the worst mistakes I've seen in FM. We're going to see a lot of those in this save, to be honest. Guerrero, questionable defending there. I bigged up our defence, and that is one of the worst clearances I've seen this year. Mons Calpe with the goal to make it 2-1, and suddenly things not all that comfortable. But anyway, as I was saying, yeah, we could have made things harder for ourselves. But at the same time, I think that's not going to take away too much from the save. It's still going to be pretty darn challenging. But I mean, looking at how we performed here, it looks like we are going to be up to the challenge. I'm going to make a triple change right here. Just get some fresh legs on. As I mentioned, some players not match fit. But anyway, Leguia, I'll get there eventually. I'm sorry, Simon. I think that was his first name. I'm still learning the players' names. I feel like a new teacher with a new class at school learning all these names. Leguia, Poggio, can you score? No, you can't. Can you get the rebound? No. That was awful. That was pretty bad. Poggio with a real chance to get his first goal at the club. Wasted it. He might get another chance though. Go on, Poggio. Go on, my son. Crosses it. Griffo. Well, he had an effort. Sanchez blocked it. Almost doubled his goal tally. We do have a corner. Can we make anything of it? No, we cannot. Going to stay at 2-1 here. 5 minutes left. I'll take a win at this point. I wanted it to be more convincing than this, particularly after we went 2-0 up after 10 minutes. But at the end of the day, a win is a win, and a win here with a slightly untested tactic wouldn't be a bad result to start things off. You will probably see an evolution of our system over the coming kind of few episodes, and perhaps, depending on which players shine, we might see a change in style in terms of trying to facilitate for our players. But you know what? I wanna sit and enjoy this positive start that we've had. We've won our first game in existence, 2-1, against one of the bigger teams in our division. They're not the biggest. If we just have a look at the Segunda division season preview, you can see Mons Calpe were predicted to finish 6th behind us. Our big rivals this year are going to be Olympique, Europa Point, Gibraltar Phoenix and Red Imps. In terms of when we'll be back for the next episode, as you can see here, it's a fairly short season. So I think we'll be back for maybe the Red Imps game. That is at the start of December, so that's going to be in about 2 months' time. A fair few games between these two episodes. But yeah, I guess that's something to look forward to. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this first episode. Obviously, new series. I'm always worried when I start something new, it's not going to appeal to everyone. But hopefully, doing a fictional team, starting in this tiny nation, trying to build it up, is going to spark some interest in it. If you have enjoyed this episode, please do smash the like button. If we could surpass 1,000 likes, that would be absolutely incredible for episode 1. If you've got any comments about this save, leave them down below. Any questions you have about Gibraltar, about the database, about how I created the team, I'll do my best to answer them to the best of my ability down in the comments. And other than that, guys, it is me, Jack, and I'll talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.